Guys, welcome to the Push to Shout Disease Cast. We're spreading the love, the news, and disease to all of you over the power of the internet. And
the disease of opinions.
Yeah, our shitty opinions poisoning you. Like, your immune system gets all fired up thinking about all the dumb shit we have to say. So, I got a lot to talk about. And I think there's a lot to talk about in general. So,
Talk about Fallout 4 VR.
Yeah. I've honestly, okay. So, came out 7 p.m. my time yesterday. So I've only had like a few hours with it. I haven't played it today yet. I'll probably do that right after the podcast is over. And it's one of those games where you're just thinking about going back and playing it all day. Where part of that's just because it's so new, but it is a knockout VR.
The VR game is new,
right? Yeah.
I'm just saying it's. Just
but I didn't play. I didn't play the game, so
yeah.
I deliberately waited until now, and I'm glad that I did because I've said this a few times, but I returned Fallout 4 when I bought it because I just was kind of bored, and it was. I could feel the kind of game that it was going to be, which is not all that different from any other Bethesda game, and I didn't really have the patience for it, is what it basically came down to. It's not like I fucking hated it. There were a couple dumb things, like I tried to just quick save and then kill a couple NPCs just for fun, and then it wouldn't let me because it were like all essential. I was like, that's kind of a bummer. And then these little...
I don't understand why like it can't do Morrowind, you know, a game that came out a long ass time ago and is basically the same kind of game. When you kill an essential NPC in that game, it comes up and it says the thread of prophecy has been broken, and if you continue on in this cursed world, you'll be whatever. Like you won't. It basically just says, hey, you're not gonna be able to complete the main quest because you killed someone. And I don't know why they can't do that with their other games. Now it has to be like you knock them out and then they get back up or whatever. And
yeah, I mean,
I don't understand it.
It's a pretty effective signal, I guess, that you're not supposed to kill them, but
yeah, but like you're not supposed to. The whole appeal
right.
of those games is that it doesn't matter what you're supposed to do.
You're exactly right. And that is what Fallout 4 felt like it was suffering from. Like, every character was just super essential to the main story. All these people I hated in the Minutemen, like, I don't know what you call it, the Minutemen outpost in the first little town that you go to, where you get in a suit of power armor and machine gun a Deathclaw to ribbons within like the first 10 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, kind of blows its load pretty quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so after that, you're talking to these like plastic-faced idiots who they sound like they got some kind of mental problems. Like one of them's a cowboy who doesn't quite talk right about machines, and then of course Preston Garvey, who's just like completely, I don't know. He's got I don't know. He's got a bad head.
He's got brain problems.
He does. He has problems in the nog.
Right.
And I just tried to kill any of the random like not even those main characters, even like the side characters who don't even have names. You can't kill them either because they're settlers and they're super important. So it's like, okay, everything about this encounter, from the Deathclaw machine gun to every character here, they're all like part of this script that they really need to have play out this way. I can't wiggle out of its confines. So it's not really the greatest role-playing game, as many other people have said, who have much more and more credible things to say about it than I do, because they actually played more than 2 hours. So, I mean, so I don't want to dwell on that necessarily. It's kind of a foregone conclusion, though, at this point, that Fallout 4 has a lot of problems with it as an RPG, which is very true. But what makes Fallout 4 VR such a game changer, literally, is that the rote gameplay of Elder Scrolls Fallout Bethesda game now is no longer rote. I mean, the exercise of walking around, gathering stuff, basic activities, fighting enemies, those are
How does walking around work?
It is
not to get into the technical specifics already.
It's like Pavlov or Onward. You just you move around, smooth locomotion. It works.
Doesn't
great.
make you dizzy.
I don't get dizzy at all. I turn that
Is
vignetting completely off. I just have
so there's a
full
motion
view.
sickness thing where it encloses your field
Right.
of view.
Yeah, by default, but you can disable it or adjust it however you want.
Crazy how easy that is, right?
Yeah.
Like conceptually, how easy it is to just have an option instead of forcing you to do some dumb movement scheme
Yeah.
that sucks.
I played it for like 3-4 hours yesterday. Didn't get motion sick at all. It's the same.
Wow.
It's the same kind of VR as Minecraft VR, basically.
Yeah.
Except you do play with the Vive controllers. It's not a mouse and keyboard or gamepad thing. But the hand tracking really is essential to the gameplay. They rebalanced the difficulty. I think there's only one difficulty, and they made it so that it's doable. So you're actually aiming the gun and trying to.
Well, because like VATS mode makes you way better in the game than you probably can aim actually in real life.
Yeah.
I wonder if they changed like ammo too. I wonder if you get more ammo or something.
I think they rebalanced quite a bit to make it suit
they would
VR.
have to. I think.
But I don't feel like I can just blast away endlessly for.
Right.
And another thing, I don't know what the original balance of this game was. I only have the other Fallouts to compare, so who knows? Maybe it's just the same across.
One thing I'll give to Bethesda too, or those kinds of games that they make, is that balance is less important in those games than it is in like a more traditional RPG, where you're relying on damage per second and stuff. It's like, okay, no, I'm facing a tougher enemy than usual. Well, I can just use up 10 of the 30 grenades I have in my pocket, or something like that. Like that's the thing I do really like about Western RPGs in particular, is like if you're smart with the way that you hoard and shit, like the balance of things. If you come up against a more powerful enemy, you have options, and that's fun. So yeah, that's not too big of an issue, I can't imagine, with that kind of game, luckily.
You mentioned VATS. VATS is really cool now.
Is it bullet time?
It's sort of like half bullet time, but you're still targeting individual parts. So you click it on, and it does that like scan view, so everything basically freezes.
Okay.
And then your action points start getting used up when you start shooting. And when you shoot, you're aiming at different body parts. They highlight, and then you've kind of got like kind of super or guided aim to those places. So you can't just spray around, but for the most part, if you're in VATS and you're targeting a body part, it's got an accurate percentage of what you're going to hit. Like,
interesting. So if your aim is good enough though, does the percentage matter?
It's not like perfect. It's not perfect shooting gallery accuracy.
Okay.
But you kind of want that, like, because perception as a stat matters. I think that determines like your spread.
Yeah.
Then of course you have shit. Yeah. Oh yeah. The setting of it being kind of post-apocalyptic. You wouldn't want perfect Counter-Strike aim anyway. So.
I guess. Yeah.
But
I was just thinking like
on like a rifle at any like respectable range. Yeah. If you aim down the sights and you line it up accurately, you're gonna hit. Pretty much dead on.
Because I'd be annoyed though if I like aim down the sights and I know that I can hit you in the head from the distance I'm at, and it's a 95% chance or whatever, and then the bullet goes like whoosh, and curves out. And
I don't think it has. I'm not sure that it has a percent. I don't think there's a percent involved. It's I thought
it's just
there was
helping
some
you
kind
aim,
of
I guess.
Visual representation of like how much it's gonna help, because the head is the only part that you can't specifically highlight. So if you target the head, you're in bullet time, but you're on your own basically, which is
not to very suddenly change the subject, but Jojo Fine in chat just said that a full conversion mod has put New Vegas into Fallout 4's engine, which potentially opens up the possibility of New Vegas VR, which is something that you Steam messaged me about not too long ago.
That would be amazing.
That would be.
That would be incredible. And honestly, this well, I mean, it's just so incredible in so many ways.
How does it look?
It looks good. I have to say,
as good as Fallout 4 can look, probably.
I'm playing it on my laptop. I haven't actually tried it out with two 1070s yet. Right now, it's running on like a 980M, which is good, but it's kind of pushing it. And I think it's slightly below the recommended specs also. So, but it's running well. I think it's very well optimized for a VR game like this. And it looks great for what I can tell. The problem that I saw, and it was very noticeable to me, is the kind of blurriness or like jagged kind of foliage effect in the distance.
Sure.
And it turns out...
You know what helps that?
It's TAA is somebody found. It's a console setting in the game that you can turn off. And when you turn it off, it apparently clears it up. I haven't done that yet. I just read about it.
Interesting. So it's just a bad aliasing, I guess.
Apparently.
I play a lot of VR games, like my flight sim games. You need to be able to see far distances, obviously, with some amount of clarity. As much clarity as you can get with a screen door effect and everything. And the thing that I found that works by far the best is screen scaling, where you render the game at a higher resolution than it's being output at. And that's the problem is that's like super, super hard on your system. So if you're already like struggling to get the recommended specs, then you probably can't do a whole lot of, what is it called? Super sampling. So that's, I think it's like probably, I don't know the specifics, but it seems like it's probably one of the least efficient methods of essentially it's anti-aliasing. And, but it's really, really, really good. Like it's effective, just not very efficient. But yeah, apparently they were probably doing something to try to minimize the screen door effect, and what ended up happening is you got some kind of weird, shitty looking. It doesn't help at all, really. I'd never do any kind of anti-aliasing with VR games because I've noticed, I think, probably the same thing that you were noticing, where I'm trying to read text on cockpits, and it's like, there's enough pixels that I should be able to read this text, but it's like, it's all weird. It kind of does
feel like... That was actually a thought that I had while I was leaving the vault. I thought, I am ready for an immersive journey where I put myself in the shoes of a visually impaired individual exploring the post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Yeah, I mean, how are you're not going to get prescription glasses in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. You've got radiation in your eyeballs.
It feels like you have vision problems.
Right.
And
is there a zoom?
I haven't found. Okay, so this is kind of related. Apparently, scopes, they're completely opaque textures right now. Scopes on rifles, which they say they're gonna fix, but it's kind of silly.
It's understandable. That seems like something really hard to do. But like onward scopes work properly, and they look really cool too when you like.
Yeah, they
actually use a scope the way you should use a scope. But
I haven't found any scope weapons yet, but that's something they definitely need to fix.
Because that's another flight sim thing. Is zoom. Zoom helps a lot. You just zoom in. You would think it's really disorienting because it's like, oh, I'm zoomed in, but it's really not too bad. Like you get used to it right away.
At this point, I think I can tolerate basically any kind of VR control scheme or movement. I mean, we're just used to it by now.
Yeah.
I mean, some people might find the smooth locomotion disorienting. I don't mind it. You just move around like normal. It feels like a normal game. The only difference is that the trackpad is fucking obviously worse than a joystick. I just want to use a joystick is all I'm thinking while I'm moving around for the most part.
It's not so bad that I hate it. I just would rather have a joystick.
Yeah, well. It's not like awful. Part of the problem though is that at this point all three of my Vive sticks have subtly broken trackpads. So
yikes.
They're not like super broken, but the right thumbstick or like the right part of the trackpad is kind of bumped up in a way that I can't push it in completely. It's very annoying. So, that compounds the anyway, I really wish I had like an Oculus controller or something for that.
I'm really jealous of that. I think right now, especially in the price point of, I was thinking seeing the Black Friday deals on the Oculus, man, if I were looking at the VR market right now without a VR headset, I would absolutely go with Oculus because to me it seems like it's really good right now. You can get the room scale setup in Oculus with the controllers and everything, which I think the controllers are objectively superior from what I've seen. I haven't tried them personally. And the headset is at least, It's just comparable. The headset is comparable. It's a little bit lighter. The pixel density is different, but comparable. And I think the brightness factor in it is a little worse, but still not that bad. And so I think the Oculus, if you save a lot of money and you get a good product.
Yeah.
Right now, to me, Oculus looks like the better product, but 6 months ago that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Those controllers look awesome though.
That's valid. I think the only one that like the quality sets it significantly farther back from the Vive is the PSVR. I mean, Oculus is about on par. Maybe a little worse technically, but if the price point is better, but
yeah, PSVR, it just seems like it's in this zone of awfulness where it's too expensive and too shitty.
It's selling.
Like it's the worst of both worlds.
It's managing to sell.
I don't know how. Well, I do know how. It's still neat. It's just like it's just a vastly inferior experience, but not affordable in the way that like Google Cardboard is.
And
I don't know.
That'll be one thing that is striking. If you compare the gameplay of Fallout 4 VR on the Vive to Skyrim VR on the PS4, it's like completely different technologies are in play. They don't even seem like they're using the same software, and they must be, just on a practical level. To Bethesda didn't put two VR engines together. Like the only difference in the way those two things are working out is processing power and the VR tracking hardware that the systems have.
Yeah.
So you've got like everybody in Skyrim VR has got like Parkinson's. Their hands are going off in 50 different directions.
That's the thing I always notice first thing when I see PSVR gameplay is it's like it's so shaky. It's terrible.
Yeah, like Super Hot is a game where the kind of like methodical, cool execution is what it's about, and like playing it out in slow motion. And to watch gameplay of that in PlayStation VR with their cool is shattered by just
yeah, I'm sure people much more knowledgeable than I have looked into this issue of the jitteriness, but it seems to me like it should be not that hard to smooth out the jittery effect, right? Like it doesn't have to be.
How would they do that? They'd have to like interpolate your movements so that you're kind of swaying.
You smooth the movements between frames, but then again, I don't know. Maybe it would absolutely cause a delay, and they probably have determined that the delay sucks more than. But I would at least like. All right, for your this is scummy, but this is not below anything that we've seen at E3 in the past. But I'd approach those developers of their PSVR games that are like their headline titles. There was one where it's like a alien shooter game, and it looks jerky as hell. And it's like, all right, listen, can we run this game at half speed, and then double the playback or something so that it doesn't look so fucking jittery? Because even in the promo videos, I'm looking at it going like, oh my god, it's like, and it looks terrible. It just looks awful. And maybe it doesn't look that bad when you're in VR, but I can't imagine it doesn't, because like Onward, for example. I'll pull up how like you pull up the VR menu and your controllers appear even if in the game you're just using hands or something, like it's rendering hands. You always have the controllers that appear when you have the menu up.
Right.
And those are super smooth, like 1-to-1, really impressive. But then when I go to the game, sometimes it's a little bit jittery, like the game's not running quite as well as it should, and so it's a little bit jittery. And that's something that I've noticed and that I wish was better. In those games that do it.
I think the principal problem with the PlayStation is well, the hardware is part of it, the jitteriness and not having enough power to pump out those frames, but it's more that they're using fucking light bulbs.
It's the PlayStation Move,
Move controllers from 10 years ago.
Not only that, but the tracking that they're using is purely visual based, which is not. It's not going to give you the kind of. I mean, think of the links that Valve went to make their tracking really good. It's like, all right, we're gonna have like a little spinning gyroscope in each one of our cameras that are pumping out IR signals, and it's like all spiraling and shit. And it's like this crazy technology. And PlayStation's like, just detect the lights on the front of the headset. It'll be fine. And it's not fine. Or it doesn't look fine. Yeah.
Um, but okay, I guess I don't want to talk about Fallout 4 VR forever.
Yeah.
It's probably the first like real AAA, honest to God, $60 video game that's come out for VR. I can't think of any others except, well, I guess Resident Evil, but nothing on PC. I wasn't interested at all in playing Fallout 4 until now, and it's really only because of how cool it is to explore an actually like content-filled open world made by like a real developer. Stuff everywhere, lots of things to do. Physically, I can pull out 50 different guns whenever I want. I can throw Molotov cocktails physically. That's how the grenade works. You grab it. There's like, you grab the grip button on the side, and then it switches to your active grenade, and then you just sort of lob it out. It kind of subtracts out the sort of Onward or Pavlov concepts of reloading manually. You just kind of your gun reloads itself when you run out of ammo, or you can trigger a reload yourself. But I mean, there's no physical movement involved. It's all
no problem with that.
Yeah, it keeps it focused on like there is shooting involved in the gunplay, shooting and throwing grenades and objects and melee weapons, but they're just kind of flapping your arms around. And then it keeps the RPG stuff like managing ammo as the priority. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna probably play it, and I'm not looking to have a incredible RPG story experience. I've kind of given up on that. I don't need it though. This is just kind of a game to play, and it's very fun. Just one moment that kind of illustrated how cool the whole thing was to me is there was this ridge, and in the bottom of the ridge or valley, there was like a checkpoint set up by some raider guy. And then he had like 2 machine gun turrets on the other sides of this pass, so he kind of controlled both ends of it. And then there's a like ridge above him at the bottom of this valley. So I was coming down from the top, and I was sneaking, which unlike in every other Bethesda game where you hit control and you slink down into this sneak mode and shuffle around, here you actually just physically get lower, and then you move slower than usual. And that's
is there like a sneak icon that shows you that you're in stealth mode?
Yeah, it tells you when you're low enough to be considered sneaking. But I mean, it's not like an obviously binary snap down, snap up.
Right.
So it feels much more natural, obviously, and just from being in VR. So sneaking from like different like platform to platform, moving my way down this ridge, and I see the raider like walking in and out from these like traps and things that he set up, and I get on top of his little like van canopy thing, and then I'm walking slowly like right above him, and he's right below me, and I was just lining up that shot. He's right there, and just one shot down, and then you go over to the body and you loot it, and it's like, okay, I just actually got all this stuff now. It makes you actually feel like you're moving around a wasteland scavenging stuff, because when you're done, now you're at the bottom of the ridge and you look up and there's the top where you climb down. I mean, it's a feeling that you don't get without physically getting that sense of presence that only VR can trick you into having.
This is making me super excited that this actually works as well as it does, because I was afraid it would be like a really gimped experience, or it would just be so glitchy or messed up that it just wouldn't work well.
It's the full honest to God game.
It sounds like they've delivered a concept and said like, look, you can turn your AAA game that had no kind of VR in, like they didn't even imagine the idea of putting VR into that game, I'm sure, when they were making it. Hey, look, you can just put VR in it and it works, and that's awesome. And I a renaissance of re-releases. I don't care. I'll pay full price for old games that are being ported to VR. I'll pay full price for one of the Far Cry games to be in VR. That would be fucking amazing. Stupid shit like that, like that stupid fuck around games.
That would be out of control. That would be
Grand Theft Auto 5 in VR. Do it.
Yeah, why not?
Because there's not enough money in it.
There will always be people who won't get sick. Just make a real game.
Just do it.
Put VR in it, and then let people go. So yeah.
But I hope, even as shitty as Skyrim looks, like when I watched a video of Skyrim, and it's like, oh my god, this is so like janky and fucked up and shitty, it still made me sit there and go, I would really enjoy playing some Skyrim in VR.
I'll play it on. Well, I guess melee weapons would be kind of different, but
it would be. The bow and arrow maybe is fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
The melee shit
I would use
seems
magic mostly if I were to do that.
Maybe. I don't recommend doing magic in Skyrim though. It's bad. And I don't think VR is going to help. The way to play Elder Scrolls games since Oblivion has been sneaky bow and arrow dude every single time. That's the only way to play those games and have fun with the combat. Trust me. I've made that mistake twice now by creating characters that don't do that and then not having fun with the game.
I don't think I've ever done straight up like bow and arrow sneaking.
But it is pretty fun, honestly. But yeah, I really hope that this shows developers that this is an option. I hope they don't go the Doom VR or the Rockstar VR route of like, here's a VR experience for $20 or whatever, and that doesn't sell anyone on it. That just maybe it sells some people on the idea of VR, but not like I want full games in VR. Why not? Fallout 4, you can play the whole game in VR just fine. So why not?
What makes this work so well is that it's not like a super action heavy. I think Doom translates far worse into VR. Not that I've played it.
I'm sure it would, yeah.
But because Doom, the whole point is that you're zipping around at ludicrous speeds and just being crazy accurate with this mouse aiming that's so iconic at this point. Like, the difference between that and Fallout is like a universe's worth, because it's not about aiming with your mouse in Fallout or zipping around quickly with your keyboard. I mean, the control style is secondary, and then VR is just an opportunity to put you more in it. I don't think VR even adds as much to Doom as it definitely does to like an exploration-based game. So, well.
Yeah, maybe. I think a game. I mean, the problem with Doom is that it's a classic FPS game, which means you're dodging. You're running around really fast. I can hear myself repeating in your headset, by the way.
Sorry.
You can turn down the volume.
I can turn.
But anyway,
your beautiful voice down.
You're having to do so much movement in Doom that wouldn't be fun in VR. But the idea of shoot 'em ups, like, why not start doing those classic like on rails shooters? You know, that used to be fun with like arcades and stuff.
Yeah,
there are some of those already, but.
Those are some of the best ones. I mean, Super Hot VR is probably like my favorite, or I guess second favorite now, possibly.
That is basically what that is. Like repeating the same level over and over, where you can't really move around very much, but you're having to shoot precisely, and
it teleports you from one spot to the next, and then you're done. I mean, that works. So I guess so would the physically on rails. That would work too.
Well, someone in chat says "fuck VR."
Fuck VR. Okay.
I genuinely think the only people who say that, I think, are people who either haven't tried it or have only tried the shitty versions of it. You know, if you're playing PSVR and you're doing one of their little demo games or something, then you're not seeing the light. Trust us when we say this. There is a light to be seen with VR. I'm not saying go out and buy a headset today. I'm just saying it's not the future of video games. It is a future in video games, though. It is a future in video games. It is.
I want to talk about Death Stranding.
What is there to talk about? I mean,
nothing really. Because I'm not like upset about not being shown gameplay, but it's just like, well, that's what I'm interested in, really. So.
I had no opinion after seeing this trailer. I wasn't surprised to see this trailer and see how it was presented
and how the stuff in it looked very good.
Yeah, it seemed like it was more of like a demonstration of in-game engine, and that actually wasn't necessarily what I expected. I expected maybe just another cinematic trailer, but it is apparently an engine, and it shows nothing to indicate how gameplay works, except apparently Kojima did an interview where it was like he established that there's this idea of when you die, you respawn, but you're in the same persistent world. So what was shown in the trailer was like he dies in an explosion and then he comes back and the crater from the explosion is still there. So like conceptually, the idea is when you die, your world keeps going, which is not a new concept in games really, but whatever. That's apparently going to be a major theme. And as far as gameplay goes, that's as far as you get. There's nothing else, and I'm not surprised, and I have no opinion on it because it's like, all right, it looks neat, but we still don't know what it is. They have no idea what the game is.
I'm still getting MGS5 vibes from this trailer.
Oh, the camera movement is MGS5 to a T.
Well, sure, but cinematography aside, I mean from a business point of view.
Oh, okay.
What it's choosing.
Don't say that. That's scary.
Well, it's less business, more creative. I guess marketing is a better. Well,
yeah,
okay,
maybe.
Let me just say the fucking thing. So
okay.
It's like MGS5. Kojima, I trusted him at first to not show me too much. I thought that those trailers were gonna hold some stuff back for the actual game, or tease the story, but not necessarily show you every cutscene. But there's about a clip or a shot from every single cutscene in the game in those trailers. And that's not quite how Death Stranding's been working. They've been more like one camera movement, single scenes, and not a montage of things like MGS5 has been. But by this third trailer, where we haven't seen any gameplay yet, it still kind of feels like, okay, so without getting a sense for what the game's like, I still feel like I might be seeing too much of this game that I will play when it comes out. I don't trust him anymore not to show me too much, so I don't know how much more of these I need to see. I'm sure they're every trailer that he makes is so fucking good though. They're just so
I don't think these are showing anything significant. I have two theories as to what's going on here. One is these trailers are showing very little of what is going to actually be the story of the game. Like you're not really getting any. The game can come out and we can play through it and then go back and watch the trailers and be like, oh, okay, those trailers were, they were just these teasers that didn't really show anything. Or the entire game is going to be like these trailers where it is just completely inexplicable. Like it's just totally abstract, which would be kind of cool, honestly. Like I'm kind of all for the idea of just a really abstract game, like this abstract art in game form would be kind of cool. And if I could choose anyone to do it, it might be Hideo Kojima. But I don't know necessarily that he would succeed or anything. But I don't know. There's nothing to be gained from these trailers.
They're fun to watch.
Someone in chat says, "Remember when these two were sucking off Kojima when the game was first revealed?"
Well, yeah,
I still think Kojima's great. I don't know what we're saying that's refuting the fact that Kojima seems like he's really good at making games.
He is.
I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play Death Stranding.
He's just not the best judge of how much to show.
Maybe not. I don't know. Who knows how much of that was Kojima and how much was Konami too? Like we still don't know that.
I mean, he edited and cut the trailers personally, and he was proud to sign.
And they were really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing that could have happened with MGS5, just real quick.
Yeah.
It could have been, all right, we've got budget constraints. I want this to be more than just these cutscenes that we have made, but this is going to be the game now. Like maybe they decided that 2 years away from release. They're like, all right, the stuff that we've created, the storyboards that we've created, this is the entire game that we have right now, and we don't have the budget to keep doing more. And when it came to making a trailer, he was like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? I can either just do teasers, maybe Death Stranding style, where it's like, okay, here's an extended look at a scene in the game, or I can do these trailers and basically make a movie that I love to do because I'm Hideo Kojima and I should be making movies instead of games, and just use whatever scenes I want to from the game. And that's what he ended up doing. And I don't think that necessarily means... Like, I don't think the problem with MGS5's trailers was that it showed the entire game. I think the problem was that we, as consumers, expected the game to be something it wasn't, more than it was. The game was sold to us as something it wasn't. I don't necessarily think that's a problem with Kojima and his trailers. I think that's a problem with budget constraints, reality of development, and some sort of shit went down in the development of that game that we might never know about. But like,
That's definitely true.
I don't necessarily think. I mean, like, we're talking about the guy who, up until actual in-store release, kept it secret that Metal Gear Solid 2, its main character was not Solid Snake. So the idea that he has a problem with revealing too much, I think, might be a stretch, because this guy has a track record of keeping some shit secret. I mean, that's huge. So
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see, I guess. I think you turned me around a little bit on that. But I still don't need to see more. I don't need to
No,
see
I don't.
trailers.
I don't care. I don't care if more of these, like, since the first trailer, basically, I did like the second trailer quite a bit. It showed some interesting stuff going on. This trailer was so abstract and so much more of what we've already seen of, like, okay, weird baby shit going on and invisible people walking around. Like, what am I supposed to gather from this? Nothing. But it did make me more excited for the game. But I'm already pretty excited for it because it's a completely new IP from Hideo Kojima. If you're not excited for that, you're insane.
Yeah. You know, the Game Awards kind of seems like Kojima's like new home.
Yes, definitely.
I don't know why. He seems.
I think he genuinely is friends with Jeff Keighley, and I think that's why.
Yeah, that's definitely that's definitely number one reason. But also, that's been like his primary venue now for revealing more about his studio and his game. He does more there than he does at the Sony.
Although I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if next E3 he shows up and does something big. Like, maybe we'll get gameplay at E3. Maybe. It's just the fact that in that transition away from Konami, he was so constricted with what he could say and everything that was the reason I think that the Game Awards became his home, was because it was like, well, he got fucking snubbed by Konami, and now maybe he's free enough to be able to go to other events and do other shit. We'll see.
It's funny to see like the whole non-graduating class of Silent Hills reunited. Norman Reedus and Guillermo and Kojima all there.
Yeah,
like,
and not to
what is Guillermo del Toro really even doing there at this point? I mean,
yeah, but not to.
There's no legitimate reason for him to be there besides "fuck you, Konami. We like Kojima."
Yeah, he was in the second trailer, and as far as we know, he has no involvement in the game whatsoever. He's just in it. But I love that. But not to harp on the point too much, but someone in chat saying like, well, you shouldn't be excited for the game part of it, or I'm not excited for the game part of it because I don't trust him enough to make a game out of this. But like, I've said it since it came out, Metal Gear Solid 5 is still, I keep saying it and I keep believing it, and I stand by this 100%. It is one of the best playing video games that I've ever played. I thought its gameplay was phenomenal, outstanding. The pinnacle so far of stealth action gameplay, and I don't understand why someone would be like, I don't understand why someone would be like, well, Hideo Kojima, we don't know if he's actually going to make a game or not. Like, this might not be a game really; it might just be a movie experience. But like, if MGS5 is anything to go by, if anything, the priority would be on the gameplay, because it certainly wasn't on story in that game.
I trust Kojima 100% to make a good video game any day, because he really hasn't made a single bad one or questionable one on a gameplay level.
Metal Gear Solid 4 gameplay wise was weak, I think, but we're talking about one game out of the entire series, where the other games I think all the other games are fantastic.
And it's not like he lost his mojo as he got older, because he made another couple good ones.
Yeah. And Metal Gear Solid 4 was just weak. It wasn't like bad playing or anything. It was just kind of weak. It was focused so heavily on the story side of things that there wasn't a whole lot of game there. Actually, to be honest, the gameplay that was in Metal Gear Solid 4 was pretty good. You just didn't play the game very much. So maybe it was okay. It just, the balance wasn't there. But I trust the guy to make a good game, or at least to hire people who make a good game. I still don't know. I still don't really I don't know if anyone really knows the involvement to which Kojima actually puts forward with developing the gameplay side of things. Does he let someone just kind of take that over and he focuses on what the game is conceptually and like the crazy story shit, or does he actually get involved with like the gameplay side of things? I like to think that he gets really involved with the gameplay stuff and that he's really good at that, because those are some good fucking games.
Yeah. He must not ever have lost that to be where he is still, because you can't just coast on like gameplay mechanics. You always have to make it feel fresh, and he's been able to do that.
Metal Gear Solid 5 was not coasting. I mean, that...
and neither was PT, which was also his design.
Yeah, and I mean, PT, to be fair, PT wasn't much of a game. It was a walking simulator, basically.
But, it was still his ideas of what should happen in the video game.
And it's also a teaser. Like, we have no idea. If Silent Hills came out, I imagine it would have been a video game. It wouldn't have just been a walking simulator. So, yeah, whatever. It's a teaser, and it was a really, really fucking good teaser. It was awesome. So, even if Death Stranding does turn out to be like some kind of narrative cinematic experience or something, I expect it to be pretty fucking amazing, honestly. I just really hope it's a game. I would love a really cool game.
I think we all would.
It will be a game. I mean, he's already said that there's going to be like multiplayer and stuff. It'll be a game. I just have no idea what kind of game it'll be.
Death Stranding online.
Apparently, yes. So
Deathmatch in Death Stranding.
Maybe.
What
Who
if he
knows?
plays the Mudman? It's like asymmetric.
Maybe it'll be like a
where you're either the Mudman or the Baby Man.
Did you ever play oh fuck, I can't remember the name of it, that Source mod game where there's one player that's invisible and the other players are hunting him down?
B-Bum, you told me the name for this before, but I forgot.
I've played a ton of it and I can't remember the name of it.
I saw it in like it was like a Kraken or a Flimsy video or something.
Yeah, definitely. Probably both of them. But I could see a game like that, maybe. What there's like a name for them, like unbalanced multiplayer or something like that, where like asymmetrical, exactly, asymmetrical game. That would be the kind of thing that Kojima, I think, would do. But fuck it, who knows? Maybe the invisible people won't be in the game. Who fucking knows what's going on in that game? Maybe they'll play as the baby.
That's very likely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a legitimate possibility. Maybe the you in the game is the baby, not Norman Reedus.
Maybe you're the invisible people.
Maybe that's the protagonist.
Maybe it's an RTS game.
Maybe. That would be kind of cool if it was something that wasn't even a third-person action thing.
It's going to be an XCOM-like.
It's going to be an XCOM Lite.
And it's gonna feature Mario and Rabbids as well.
Oh my God.
That would be something. At least the Rabbids part of it, I could see Rabbids in a Kojima game. I could totally see Kojima being like, "Yeah, sure, just put the Rabbids in the game. Fuck it. You have to find all the Rabbids."
Little minions with your Death Stranding.
Jesus Christ.
They're actually the original minions, though. They predate the minions.
They do predate minions, and they are the exact same thing. You're right.
They stole the idea for the minions from.
You are absolutely right. The Hidden. Thank you, Shader in chat. The Hidden. It's a great game. Great fucking game. I'm still surprised like no AAA developers have taken on that idea. I mean, it's sort of they have, but not really. Like just an invisible dude killing folks. It's cool.
It looked outright way more fun than Friday the 13th. Like,
oh yeah.
It looked like an
definitely.
actual game.
Yeah.
Did anything else noteworthy happen at the Game Awards? Because I didn't watch them.
Okay.
I saw basically nothing. I saw a couple of trailers and announcements.
I had a tweet instead of live tweeting the event, as I often do, and it pisses people off, and that's kind of part of the reason I would do it. But at the same time, like, all right, why not? I'll just since I've got 240 characters now, 100, 280, whatever. Since I've got a bunch of characters now, I might as well just make one tweet at the end of the event that sums up my thoughts. So that's what I did. So this is the shit that I thought was important enough to talk about. Witchfire. This was actually my favorite thing at the awards.
I saw this trailer.
You saw the trailer?
Yeah.
First of all, I thought that the trailer was genius because I was literally rolling my eyes. I was literally rolling my eyes because this trailer, it starts out and it's like, all right, here's the character slowly walking through a very pretty looking rendered forest with ancient ruins, and the camera is slowly looking up at something and slowly looking over here, and you're just like, oh great, it's like a great your game. It's an indie game where it's like, oh, the whole appeal is that it looks good, and that's it. And it does that for a good like 30 seconds or so, maybe. It's just walking around slowly looking at shit that's all pretty, and it's like, ooh, it's an interactive story experience. And then it says, from the makers of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which you and I both love that game. And I was like, oh, okay. Suddenly I was excited about it. I was like, all right, yeah, it's a walking simulator, but it's by the people who are good at making these. And then I think what happened is a monster attacks the main character, and the character takes the weapon away from it or something. I don't remember how the character acquires this weapon.
A monster starts to wake up, and then the character moves a gun into frame.
Pulls out a gun. Okay. Pulls out the gun and starts shooting shit.
No.
And then it pops up. It pops up on the screen. And from the creators of, what was it, Bulletstorm and Predator or
Painkiller, I don't know. I just know Bulletstorm of that.
These fucking shoot 'em up games. And I was like, all right, first of all, yeah, you got me. And secondly, I'm genuinely really excited about this game. I don't know what it is, but
it looks cool.
It seems like that's an interesting mashup of genres and developers. Very clever trailer.
Dark
and that trailer
and shooting.
Yeah, that trailer had to appeal to a pretty small audience of people who were into The Vanishing of Ethan Carter and also like the idea of like a Bulletstorm style game. So hopefully it's actually getting people excited other than like you and me. Dreams. I don't know if it's PSVR exclusive. I think maybe it used to be and maybe now it isn't. But this was shown at E3
years and years ago.
Yeah, this was shown at E3. I think it was announced 2.5 years ago, and it is a really cool looking VR creator game. It's a Little Big Planet in 3D for VR, and yeah, it looked really cool when they first showed it, and it looked like it was a working thing, a product that would come out, and then it never really came out, and I kind of forgot about it, to be honest, until it was shown here at the Game Awards, and I was like, oh, like at first I was like, oh, this looks like Dreams. I remember that game. Did it ever? And then I thought, did that game ever come out? And then it was like, it's Dreams. And I was like, oh, okay, this game hasn't come out yet. And now they're showing it again. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this game's going to come out now. It does look really cool, though. I'm actually genuinely excited for that because it seems like something that would be a lot of fun to fuck around with. So this was good. Fortnite. And I'll talk a little bit about Fortnite, too. I played a little bit of it, like a couple hours. I played like 3 or 4 matches of Fortnite. Just because I was interested in seeing what it was, and it's a free-to-play game, so why not? I don't love Fortnite. First of all, it's got the same problem that I had with PUBG at the very beginning, which is that third-person shooter games are really frustrating, and we've explained it too many times on this podcast for me to go over again. But Fortnite is one of those games, and so it's like, oh, great, third-person shooter.
But I want to say, just as a shout-out to you here, that you have brought that up several times. I think that the way you explained that in the last podcast was really good. And
so go back and watch the last podcast or listen to the last podcast about it.
If you actually are interested in why PUBG...
Because I was talking about Fortnite, wasn't I, in the last one?
Yeah, it was Fortnite and PUBG you were comparing kind of and talking about the third person. And I think the problem specifically that you brought up that it was like, whoa, okay, that's like really obvious, is the situation where you've got 2 people who have no reason to peek from their cover, because you can see the other guy's cover without peeking. So why would you ever expose yourself? Or why would you ever
until they expose themselves, right? And they're not going to expose themselves. Yeah, and so the only thing in Fortnite that ends up making you expose yourself is if you get unlucky and the circle is outside of where you are and you have to go run over there, and then you're just purely basing it on luck. Anyway, Fortnite, I appreciate what Fortnite's doing. I think it's like, okay, cool. I'm glad that a big developer is looking at PUBG and saying, well, we can do that better, and actually doing it better. It doesn't not necessarily a game that I want to play any more of, but neither is PUBG. So But anyway, Fortnite came out with this little commercial that they played in the Game Awards. It's 50 versus 50 battle royale.
Okay.
It's a team battle royale thing, which seems really. It seems cool and goofy.
It's like a war.
Yeah, it seems really goofy. The trailer was pretty goofy. I haven't tried it yet. I think it's like a limited thing. Like I don't think necessarily that they're gonna keep doing it. It's just kind of like an event. But it looked really fun, and I was like, shit, maybe I'll play. I would have played Fortnite that night after the awards if they didn't go on for like 3.5 hours. So, oh well. Oh my god, it was 3 hours at least.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it started a little late, so it was probably closer to 3.5 hours because it started late.
I mean, I guess credit to Jeff that it's not just a series of trailers. I mean,
it was a thing for sure. It should have been 2 hours max, but yeah. But anyway, they put this trailer out for this, and I was like, holy shit, that actually looks really fun, and like I bet that'll get a lot of people to play this game because it looks unique and cool and all that. And then like hour and a half later in the awards show, the PUBG developers come on. Poor guys. And they'd been teasing this for a while too, I think, of like, oh, we're gonna show the new map here and everything. They come out, they show the new map, which is like a desert map in PUBG, and they're like, and by the way, the Fortnite thing was available that night. It was like, oh, you can play it right now if you want to, and that's always a fun thing. Well, PUBG comes out, they show the new map, and they go, and it's available tonight at 12 p.m. Pacific. And it's like, oh. Well, in that time, I could go ahead and just download Fortnite and play that instead. You can tell, I don't know, I really want to know if like the Fortnite developers had some sort of insider information that like PUBG was going to do something like this, or if they just both happened to have basically the same idea at the same time, and Fortnite's was way better.
That's like the kind of thing they teach in game theory, like your classic.
It's like what Blizzard did to poor Battlestorm or whatever, where they're like, it's a free weekend or free beta or whatever, and Blizzard schedules theirs on the same weekend, or like comes out with the game when Battleborn's doing their free weekend or something like that. I don't know. There was some sort of timing thing with them where they stole their thunder, but I thought that was really funny because I fucking hate the PUBG developers. I think all the other shit was just random stuff. Those Zelda, the Zelda expansion pack was another available now moment.
I don't even think I'm gonna play it.
Really?
Really?
Because you don't want to play more of that game, really?
Yeah, basically.
Did you see the motorcycle?
No. Even still, I'm not that interested.
Well, I think it's cool that they're doing it.
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not. I played, I think, 100 hours of it, or that might be on the long side to estimate, but I mean, I played a lot of that game, and I can't really picture myself doing too much of the same thing. Like, I kind of exhausted everything that it felt like there was to do. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably how I'll feel when I play that much of that game, and I haven't been playing it recently either. I just kind of fell off it after I played the first dungeon, so it was kind of one thing where I was like not all that excited about it either, but I think it's really cool that they're doing it. It seems like it's a prequel thing. Like you're playing as Link before the events referenced in the game, which is neat. I don't know. It's cool. There's a motorcycle. I thought that was great. What else? Nier Automata got snubbed. Although it did win Best Soundtrack, which I was a little bit surprised about, but I thought it earned it.
It was well earned.
But that fucking game should have been nominated for Game of the Year over PUBG.
Which is just hilarious.
Just, God. Just the worst.
Yeah, Nier is incredible, definitely. And if anything deserved to be up there, it was probably Nier.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I like that the Game Awards is a thing. It used to be more fun. It used to be more fun to make fun of because it was such a disaster of a show. But they've been putting enough money into it now that like it's actually a pretty professional production. There's still some goofy shit that happens, of course, but
yeah, but it's not like the meme mine that it was.
yeah.
Where
The only problem with it right now is that like they do so much shilling. They do so much. Oh, if you go to this website and use this code, you can get 15% off your purchases and all that shit. And it's like, all right, I understand that you have to do that to pay for the show. That it looks very expensive, but you could also make the show less expensive if, for example, you didn't have a live orchestra at the show.
When they
like you don't need that.
When they started playing Rivers in the Desert, I did see that clip. They started playing Rivers in the Desert, and it sounded like shit. They ruined it.
It was bad.
They ruined it.
They fucked up a lot of. They fucked up the Persona songs in particular, and
there was only one. It was just Rivers in the Desert.
No, they showed there were two of them. Really? Yeah, because they had like a little thing where they played at the beginning and then they played it in the montage. I think it was two different Persona songs.
Saw the wailing violinist.
The cello, the electric cello, where the woman was like really getting into it.
I
don't know, maybe not.
I saw them play Rivers in the Desert, and it sucked.
Yeah, but yeah, you could have just not paid for the orchestra to show up at your event. That probably would have saved a lot of money. I imagine an entire orchestra for 3 hours is probably pretty expensive. And there's just a lot of stuff where it's like, all right, maybe cut down on the budget and cut down on the time, and it can be a lot cheaper and still really good and actually better because you're not as long and drawn out. But still, as much as it's fun to make fun of them and everything, it really is nice that they do it.
It's not like the Cringe Awards or something. I'm sure people are doing it, but it's not the kind of thing where you can just grab any clip from it and upload it to your Cringe channel and just be like...
Well, the thing is, it used to be that way. Yeah. And so like people are still caught in that mindset of like, oh, it's time to get on in here and do a drinking game and make fun of it. But like, it's not the way it used to be with the VGAs where you really could just like, I mean, it was hilarious. It was awful and just a complete disaster. And now it's just like, all right, there's some funny stuff that happens, but it's also like not even really cringy. It's just kind of goofy. And so,
And then you got stuff like somebody's grandma. I saw the grandma come out.
Yeah.
The
she was nice.
Developer. I know.
Yeah.
She was just like, it's so nice to be here. And I'm very happy to have won this award. It's nice to be recognized for your work.
It's a pretty good impression. But yeah, whatever. It used to be funnier than it is. I mean, same kind of goes for E3, but E3 is still a disaster. E3 is still hilariously bad in so many ways that it's just not necessarily bad in the same ways it used to be.
The VGAs are the influence of glorious Jeff Keighley.
Yeah. If only they were still on. If they were still on Spike TV, then maybe it would still be its entertainment that it used to be. But now it
get its integrity back.
Yeah. Go back to its roots. Well,
was there anything else big? I know there was some reveal that I actually did care about, but I've forgotten what it is now.
Must not have been that big of a reveal.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was, so...
I don't know what it would be.
No, I can't think of it, so it probably doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, the PSX was the next night, and it was just a bunch of people sitting on a couch talking about games.
They didn't show anything there?
They showed God of War gameplay, and they probably showed some gameplay of other games, but it was like, I don't care. Like God of War gameplay we've already seen a couple times now. It just seemed like it was a real non-event.
Did they show a new Metro game? Oh no, I know what I was thinking of. Bayonetta 3.
Oh yeah. Bayonetta 3 and the two previous Bayonettas coming out on Switch. Yeah. You get Bayonetta 2 and one comes with it, which is
that's how they sold it. That's how they sold it on the Wii U too. I just didn't want to play it on the Wii U.
Yeah, I might get that because I've never played those games and I want to.
I started the first one on PC now twice and I haven't finished it yet. But now that I'll have a way to play the second one, the whole series on one place, that's kind of more appealing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is a pretty big announcement. I slipped my mind too.
It kind of does cement Bayonetta being brought into Nintendo's like umbrella.
Yeah, it's almost kind of weird. It's just so not like the whole Bayonetta thing is just not Nintendo style at all. But in Nintendo's defense, like they're kind of branching out in general. It seems.
Yeah, they're more nimble than they used to be.
Yeah, definitely.
It's working. They're fucking killing it, honestly.
And meanwhile, their first party games are just like better than ever somehow. So good for Nintendo, I guess. That's about it for me, I think. I got Track IR. Because, you know, the flight sim stuff that I like so much is really fun to do in VR, and I'm going to keep playing some of it in VR. But it's not... depending on what I'm doing in the flight sim, sometimes I really want to just be able to have a screen, and especially a second screen that I can look to if I need to for like notes or something like that. And streaming, if I want to stream the game, like streaming in VR just sucks. And so I got Track IR so that I can play those games and look around. I look really goofy when I'm doing it, but it's pretty effective. It's kind of weird because you have to get used to it, but that's a big deal for me because I've been kind of planning on getting that for a while. Bought that for myself for an early Christmas present. But no games. I don't play games. Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a lot of people get back into that lately.
Well, they're still... I mean, it's because the support for it's really good, actually. They keep adding content, and it's almost too much content, actually, because that game's like really saturated with operators, and each one of them has a different ability that you have to kind of keep track of or keep in the back of your head while you're playing, and like... It's kind of like Overwatch, where I got frustrated with ranked Overwatch because there were so many possibilities of what could be going on in a match at any moment. Like, oh, you just killed this character, and they could come back as a different character that's a counterpick to your character. So what's your counterpick going to be? And it was just so complicated that I didn't even want to deal with it. Rainbow Six Siege is almost getting to that point where it's like, okay, this character has this gun and this ability does this, which might mean that I can't do this, and da-da-da-da-da, and then we're on this part of the map, and da-da-da. It's just so much shit to keep track of. But yeah, it's got really good support. It's still not perfect, that game. There's a lot of moments in that game where I'm like, oh, I feel like I definitely hit that guy in the head, but he killed me, and that's frustrating. And like, it's something that like I play a lot of CSGO, or at least I used to play a ton of CSGO pretty competitively, and very rarely in CSGO, like almost never really in CSGO did I feel like, oh, I should have gotten that kill. Yep. Like, I feel like I got that guy in the head. But Rainbow Six Siege, like almost every time I die, I'm like going like, what the fuck was that? Like, it seems like I got it. And so like it seems like maybe the servers just aren't quite synced, and like it just doesn't feel as, to be fair, CSGO is like the pinnacle of multiplayer servers and shooters where it's like really, really good. But like, it needs to get to that level because it's so comparable to CSGO as a shooter that it's frustrating to play, but it's still really good. I do enjoy it, and I'm going to play more of it because it's just really good. It's a lot of fun. It's tough. It's difficult. I'm ranked very low, and I still struggle, and that's good, it's a hard game.
For there to be an actual climb if you're interested.
Yeah, it's a huge climb for sure. Not only because like when you first enter the game, you're going to be frustrated because it's like I said, there's so much stuff to keep track of. There's so much stuff to know. All these operators have different abilities that are important to know what they do and how they work. And then on top of that, you've got the gameplay curve of just like, how do I hit people? And, it's difficult. I think it probably turns a lot of people off. I'm actually surprised it's as popular as it is, because it is kind of, I would call it a kind of a hardcore game. Like it's a difficult game that's has a high barrier to entry, but it still seems like it's actually gaining popularity. I hope Ubisoft really gets behind it. I hope they come out with a sequel rather than just supporting this game, because it really needs some improvements. But it's cool. I wish it wasn't Ubisoft, man, because Ubisoft, I don't trust them at all with anything. So, but
they seem though like of the big players to be maybe the least bad.
No, I think Ubisoft is the
Among
worst of the worst,
Ubisoft,
honestly.
EA, and Activision.
I know EA recently with the bad news and everything, EA is up there, and Activision's always been up there. But like Ubisoft, I mean, Ubisoft is the only company where I look at and I see that Ubisoft's coming out with a game that I'm interested in, and I consider I might make a choice as to whether to buy it or not based purely on Ubisoft's logo being on it, because I'm like, I don't want to deal with Uplay. I don't want to deal with all that bullshit. I don't trust them to make a good game. I don't trust them to support this game. The only thing that I've seen out of them that I would call successful is Rainbow Six Siege, out of like years of games coming out that have just been garbage. I mean, the new Assassin's Creed came out and like it looks bland and awful and garbage, and it's like I don't know. Fuck Ubisoft, man. but Rainbow Six Siege. But despite Ubisoft and everything, it seems like they've got a diamond in the rough there. So hopefully they cherish it. But who knows?
I remembered what I was thinking of. It was the From Software thing. I couldn't think of the name because we don't know.
Yeah.
Shadows Die Twice.
At first I thought it was Bloodborne 2 because it's so similar in style.
It's so Bloodborne that it just can't be Bloodborne. You know?
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
I feel like we're being baited here.
A little bit.
Because it's
I don't.
bloody.
The reason I don't think it's Bloodborne
mechanical.
is because I don't think they'll make another. I think they'll deviate quite a bit from the Souls formula.
I hope so.
And Bloodborne 2 would be too much.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Yeah,
it's okay. We'll end it soon. But yeah, I hope they do a new thing. Although at the same time, like, I honestly wouldn't mind if they just kept coming out with Souls-like games, because I still like those games a lot. As long as they
we've just played so many of them at this point. You give them a few more years, and then maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I hope
who knows
that
they
do something very different. That would be great, and it would be a good opportunity for them to branch out, because they've been making one type of game for how long? When did when did Demon Souls come out?
I don't know. A long time ago. I mean,
like 10 years ago, or maybe a little less, right?
A little bit less, probably, but close.
Yeah, so they've been doing the same type of game for about 10 years.
Yeah, with very little mixing up of the formula. Yeah, I don't think they'll make another one of those games for their next game, so I think that's pretty obvious. But I wish I actually don't really like it as a teaser, because all right, I still have no idea what to expect here, except that maybe the style of it, maybe they'll kind of stylistically be Lovecraftian, Bloodborne looking, but
I don't even know what to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm interested though, obviously.
Yeah.
Can you tell I'm interested by how I'm yawning?
Woo! All right, well, you go take some medicine or whatever.
I'm gonna go take my VR medicine, and yeah, and you know what?
VR's kind of bad to do while you're sick, because I'm not saying don't do it. You should probably do it anyway, but I've played VR kind of sick and come out of it like really? You get like disoriented and just like you just feel bad.
Well, maybe I can do it, and then when I take the goggles off, I'll be in the grave and I'll be fine.
Baby, yeah. Just live the rest of your life in VR. All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have another hot show full of hot takes in another couple of hot weeks.
Spend the next 2 weeks recovering.
I will. All right, good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.